Now that the top 10 best and worst movies have been accounted for, it's time for the third annual Eh-mmy Awards. We'll quickly look over most of the other movies I saw in 2021 and hand out some awards for each category. Think of the children. The award for Best Family Feature of the year can be a little tough to pick at times. A lot of movies on multiple categories could have qualified for this, but I wanted to specify certain ones that fit a more broad award. To be expected, Disney has most of the spots on this list. Flora and Ulysses is a very silly comedy, but has a lot of moments that break down if you start to think about how it works as a whole. Raya and the Last Dragon has some well-animated fight scenes and eye-catching designs, but its message's weak structure falls a little flat to really leave the impact it aims for. Luca is Pixar's newest flick with a theme of acceptance. Pixar rarely has trouble with getting some great emotions out, and Luca is no different. On the not Disney side, we have Vivo, a Netflix original with cute characters and decent music. Rumble is a Paramount Plus exclusive. It's serviceable. Not that bad, but it's more put it on and just kind of watch. But only one movie from this list has been stuck in my head like everyone else, and it's obviously Encanto. With some catchy songs accompanied by great dancing and animation, loaded with a cast of a colorful and lovable family. There really isn't much to talk about except this. Indie-rific. The smaller films that stuck out to me this year have a big variety in genres. Nomadland is perfectly edited and masterfully shot. It winning Best Picture doesn't really shock me, even if I had other preferred choices. The Get Together is a comedy with multiple storylines at one party mixing around, a quick and fun watch. Zola is an A24 movie based off a Twitter thread. Characters that can't catch a break in situations with no good outcomes. Zola is another one to check out. But if we had to pick favorites, which I am, I'm giving the award to The Vigil. Suspenseful use of camera movements, shadows, and never knowing when the rug will be pulled out from under you. The Vigil will give you some great scares and have you checking under all your sheets before bed. Give it to HBO, aka should have been a TV show award. Some stories or ideas would benefit a lot from getting a little more time to flesh things out and help establish their own worlds. Although I haven't read Chaos Walking, lots of the elements that get brought up in the movie feel like either an afterthought or cut down to fit under 2 hours. The Tomorrow War borrows a lot of story beats from other alien sci-fi action movies. Although it's fine on its own, it might have been a little better if it didn't use so many tropes as shortcuts to help move the plot along. Mortal Kombat has such a big roster with so many interconnected stories, making a movie trying to introduce new boring characters is the exact opposite of a good idea. I think we can agree, however, that although Dune was a pretty good movie, the source material and universe the story lives in is so dense, some things feel like they don't truly pay off until the second part. I'm excited to see the rest, but I think Dune would have a better time being paced like Game of Thrones. The first 6 seasons anyway.
It's time.
Sadaptation. With plenty of new versions of older media constantly being pumped out by Hollywood, which of these seem like the most pointless and lacking creative effort? There's Tom and Jerry, which feels like a generic kids movie that just so happens to have cartoon animals in it. Forgettable and not very good, but what were you supposed to expect? Cruella is another Disney live-action remake that just muddies a lot of the waters of the character of Cruella, with some positives mainly coming from Emma Stone's performance. Jungle Cruise is what happens when Disney had to take a break from the Pirates of the Caribbean, so we just get this store-brand version of a Disney park ride turned into a movie thing. Amazon dropped a new Cinderella that, although can be very annoying, at least tries something new even if it's not really that great or works out overall. The winner of the award must go to live-action Clifford the Big Ass Dog. As someone who watched the cartoon growing up, it wasn't something I was dying to see, but I figured it could be fun. Well, it turns out it's just another kids movie turned live action, taking place in New York, while the boring human characters are the main focus instead of the title characters. I wasn't expecting much, but when you know Clifford lore, you just question why a lot of things end up being chosen. Instead of an island full of fun characters, you're left with another gas station DVD rack of a movie.
This dog is killing me.
Superb Supers. Outside of the Suicide Squad and No Way Home, plenty of other superhero movies were released, but which of these take the bronze podium? Black Widow is a movie that should have come out like 3 years ago, and has some good additions to the MCU, but falling back into disappointing villains. Venom Let There Be Carnage is a movie that's trying to be a short and fun experience, but wastes a comic villain people have been waiting years for just to be a rushed and censored version of what we wanted. It's about the same level as the first Venom, not as forgettable, but more annoying for sure. Eternals tries to set up so much of Marvel's cosmic universe it uses 10 boring characters to do it. A lead with zero personality besides the good one, characters whose powers contradict the Eternals' purpose and their existence in general, and so bloated with information that it should have been trimmed out more. The visuals and attempts at deeper themes help pull some positives out of it though. Zack Snyder's Justice League's biggest praise I can give it is that it is indeed much better than the original 2017 Justice League. Flash and Cyborg are actual characters with purpose now. Outside of that, we still have nonsensical character choices, and a 4-hour runtime that feels unneeded when a good chunk of the movie is just scenes from the 2 sequel movies and add very little to the overall product, which leaves the winner of the award Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The fight scenes are so energetic and captivating while having a story that has some great relationships and open up part of the MCU to more adventures that give you the feeling that Phase 4 will have plenty to offer. Too fun to care. Basically, the movies that are just a joy to sit through. Some having plenty of holes to poke and nitpick at, but they know what they are. And some even offering more than you'd think at first glance. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is such a goofy and off-the-wall kind of movie that is just doing any silly idea that comes to mind. Does it all land? Some parts not as much as others, but it's only trying to be itself, and that's what makes it memorable. Godzilla vs. Kong is what the title says it is. The humans get pulled back and are only used to get our kaijus to square off. Insane scope and explosive fights, I appreciate that the movie is just wanting to be enjoyed. Free Guy is what a lot of people expected from a Ryan Reynolds average Joe character in a GTA-esque world would be. It has a lot of overdone story beats, but makes up for it in just being a big playground for our characters to give plenty of fun action and fan service to the audience. Nobody has some of the better timed camera work, editing, and choreography of the year. Oh, and Christopher Lloyd is blasting off shotguns. No other movie surprised me with how much I enjoyed the viewing than The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Like Barb and Star, this movie just tries to be its own thing with a creative animation style and really fast and clever writing. A non-stop family adventure. Check it out on Netflix if you haven't already. Not mad, just disappointed. Sometimes movies get you excited for what they seem to promise, but unfortunately this doesn't always pay off. Take Willy's Wonderland. Nick Cage in a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff? It sounds stupid and fun, which is mostly one of those things. You basically see everything you're gonna get after the second animatronic fight, with a cast of stock horror characters that act like a satire but add nothing to the movie. It's just another paycheck for our boy Nicholas. Sponge on the Run is just a different version of an old episode of the TV show, but triple the length and is pretty much just a long commercial for a spin-off prequel series that no one asked for. Red Notice was hyped up with being the Netflix movie, which by the stream count, I guess it was, but it's just a dull heist movie that rides off Ryan Reynolds and Rock the Dwayne Johnson playing themselves and hoping it makes the movie better. It does not. The biggest letdown for me this year, though, goes to Cherry. I was excited to see Tom Holland try something so detached from his Peter Parker character, and that almost works out. The casting, unfortunately, is the big issue. The performances aren't bad, but I don't see young adults growing into these lost souls. It feels like I'm watching an episode of Skins or something.
And it's a nightmare.
Out of nowhere. On the other side of the spectrum of the last award, this one showcases the movies that weren't on my radar and I, one way or another, stumbled upon them and was surprised at what I watched. Don't Tell a Soul has some great character growth and is paced perfectly. Jacob's Wife is a movie where the less you know, the better the reveals are. I'll leave it at that, but I gotta say, it's a lot of fun. Till Death has an easy to dismiss feel to it. It's not great, but for a movie that takes place in one location, it does a good job of keeping the tension steady, even though there's plenty of silly, dumb movie moments. Finch, originally called Bios, was something I heard for a long time, but I had no expectation for. Out of all the movies in this category, I gotta say it's my favorite because it's so charming and heartwarming. This is what I wanted Chappie to be. I just had to wait 6 more years, I guess. Even though I said Finch was my favorite of these listed, it doesn't win the award. The award goes to the movie, for when I saw the trailer, I was sure I was gonna hate it. But somehow, I actually had a good time. That movie is 8-Bit Christmas. It's for sure pandering at times, but a holiday movie that heightens reality from the eye of a kid and building up little character moments for it to come around in the end adds some emotion to a movie that didn't have to try, and honestly, didn't look like it was going to, but it did, and I greatly appreciate it.
It was the 80s. Stuff got real.
Conflicted experience. Now it's time to decide what movie has me on the fenciest fence. Movies that lean in both good and bad, or just land perfectly in the middle. Sometimes on purpose, but also who knows if it's not just an accident. Army of Thieves is a movie that is carried by its wonderfully directed safe-cracking scenes, but outside of those pieces of the movie, we're just sitting through a fairly generic heist film with odd scenarios and lame cartoonish people. The King's Man is a step above the Golden Circle, but never reaches close to the quality of the first Kingsman. This prequel has some more well-timed and creative camera work and editing, but can feel like it drags a bit. Old is what you'd expect from Shyamalan at this point. The mystery and build-up are intriguing, but make you ask a lot of continuity questions that just won't get answered. Mixed in with the reveal being kinda questionable with writing and directing that can only make sense to Shyamalan himself, Old isn't awful, I think. Maybe I just give the guy a break since The Happening. I'll allow a lot of dumber things to slip until we start getting close to that level again. The winner, without question this year, has to go to Malignant. Anyone who's seen this movie knows it's such a mixed bag, where you have no idea when the over-the-top silliness is on purpose or just lack of thought. Or maybe too much thought. Bonkers from start to finish, Malignant is something you just have to really see to solidify your thoughts. Farthouse Entertainment. Movies that focus on the artistic side run that risk of tripping off the tightrope and falling into the full of itself garbage. Luckily, the 4 films this year stayed nice and balanced, some more easily than others. Belfast is an interesting look at the director's upbringing and mixes in that young energy with the harsh setting his childhood was going through. Last Night in Soho is Edgar Wright's attempt to step away from what he's more known for, and mostly pays off. The visuals and direction are the main takeaway obviously, with the story being good and overall solid performances. Lamb teeters a little hard on the shots of mountains of Iceland's side of the scale, so much to the point it kind of feels like filler. The story and themes themselves are great, but the movie can have this sense of really stalling every now and then. Nothing caught my eye more than the tragedy of Macbeth. The minimal set design, use of angles and lighting, and the mix of effects. It's a beautiful movie, even if you don't fully grasp Shakespeareese right away. What you see is what you get. These are the movies that feel like they give you what you expected at the very least. Basically what you see in the trailer, you kind of figure how you're going to feel about it. Those Who Wish Me Dead had a good cast that has some decent action, but overall blends into the rest same style of movies. Reminiscence plays a bit with the technology it presents, but the plot can feel like it drags its feet for a bit. Antlers has its monster design and creepy aura that looms over the story. A lot of mystery and unsaid things follow the characters, but most things are never gone into much detail. It doesn't have to, but a lot is left to read in between the lines. The Eyes of Tammy Faye's strongest quality is its acting. Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield breathe so much life into this movie. The winner comes from early in this year with The Little Things, a crime drama with Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and I guess Jared Leto. It sounded like something that'd get some buzz, but its themes are bogged down by its generic story and overall middle-of-the-road entertainment value.
It's the little things that rip you apart. It's the little things that get you caught.
This is still going on. On top of adaptations, remakes, and reboots, there are new installments into long-running series, and some getting their first sequel just this past year. Space Jam: A New Legacy being the main example. I don't know anyone who wanted this, and it's literally what you'd expect a modern sequel to a commercial of a movie Space Jam already was. Candyman follows up on a long break in the series, but only being a direct sequel to the original. It has some good direction and can stand on its own, but suffers from the thing has to happen or the plot can't continue itis real bad sometimes. Halloween Kills is the second installment of the new Halloween trilogy, and a lot of my hyped copied the townspeople this movie and fucking died. Ghostbusters Afterlife can be argued for having a very questionable existence, but I think it's about as good as a continuation on a long-wrapped series could get in 2021. Fun overall, with some parts that I feel like are there just cause they have to be there to complete a checklist. The award has to go to the movie that actually made me say the title of the category, and that's Matrix Resurrections. When you have a producer character literally telling Neo, we will do this with or without you, how else are you supposed to guess why this movie exists? It tries to be self-aware, but with everything that tries to make it work, makes you notice parts that just don't click like the first Matrix did. I could have put this in the biggest letdown category, but enough people would have actually had to been excited for this. We kinda got what we expected.
To be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
That's a wrap on the 2021 movie ranking videos. Feel free to share what you thought should have won these awards and discuss. I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you then.